Give it up to Mr. Florido here.
Hi, everybody. So should I present myself, right? So
Yes.
For the one that don't know me, I'm a techno DJ, but first of all, a clubber. So I always, I started going out dancing when I was really, really young. And since then, I never stopped. And let's say that I really like to do that even now, when I'm not DJing, when I have some free weekends or on a Sunday evening in Berlin, there is always something going on. Because it gives me this, this connection and this feeling of being on the dance floor and, always feel the night and, not forget about how is it to be on the dance floor.
In the middle of it all. Sure.
Exactly. It's very important for me. And I moved to London when I was really young, like in 2007, and that's when I started to think, okay, I want to play. I also want to play music instead of just going there and dance.
What nights were you going to in London?
Oh, well, Fabric, that was, I said to my mom, I'm going to go there to learn English, but it was me.
You were learning English. Fabric is an important word in English language. It is.
But at the same time, obviously, it was just to experience. Let's say that I'm not really a nerd, but I'm more like a feeling person. So I really have to feel things. So I decided to do, this experience in London, where, as I said, I started to DJ. But like for me, obviously, I first started with turntables or CDJs, but for me, it was never. Obviously, there is not right or wrong. It's only my view, but I get that feeling of excitement where I know that I have more tracks going on at the same time and maybe some live percussion on it and all this instead of just, beat matching.
So you felt the need to definitely craft and personalize the music that you were DJing, right? Yeah,
exactly.
Beyond just standard loops.
Yeah, so from then I decided, because let's say that I was making music before becoming a DJ, as for passion with friends, like I always had Ableton Live or Fruity Loop back in the days. And that's when I decided to go live, to try to play live, because it was, I had so much material unreleased and, samples and stuff. So I started right after the timetable, I went to live. And that's, I think, when my mind started to see music in pieces. Because obviously when you do live, you have, kick drum or, whatever, hi-hats and everything. But then what happened was that I became a resident in a club. And obviously after 2 months, I was like,
out of music.
Okay, yeah. You obviously cannot present the same music all the time. So from then, obviously, I got into TRAKTOR, which for me, it's really like, if you use it like with 4 channels and all that, it's really like playing live almost, because you can decompose tracks as you can do with Ableton Live. From then, I've tried, obviously, it's always good to try things out. It's always nice to, be creative and invent yourself. So I was going, before I had X1s from Native Instrument, but then I found out that with this controller, I need, I have the faders, so I can control, I have much more MIDI control than with the other ones. Then I had MASCHINE, then the remix stacks with the F1 controller. I've tried them all, but let's say that the main concept is to have tracks, 4 possibly tracks running, and then effects and adding live percussions on top. So that's why this is, at the moment, this is my final.
Not current version, iteration.
Current version.
So in terms of your, we'll talk more about, well, actually, let's talk about your sets later. But your current setup, for those of us who can't see it, particularly with what's going on the screen, can you talk us through each of the bits of equipment and what role they play in your setup?
Okay, so as you can see, I have a laptop here where I have two programs running at the same time. One is TRAKTOR and the other one is called Ableton Live. And
How are they connected internally?
well, they are actually not mixing in this point together. So they are running together on the same computer. They are sharing the same sound card here. Then from the sound card, obviously, I'm going to the mix. Well, I'm using this Motu hybrid MK4, which has quite a lot of inputs and outputs, but it's not huge. And then I'm using a Model 1 Play Differently mixer, which is, I'm also ambassador for this mixer, which has like 8 stereo channel outputs, and it gives you a lot of possibility. I'm going to explain later if you want. Then here, as I said, I have one K2 controller, and this one controls both programs, so TRAKTOR and Ableton. And then here I have a Roland TR8 to add live percussions on it. So coming back to the programs, yeah, as I said, I use TRAKTOR with 4 channels, and then some effects, internal effects, and then I use Ableton Live for two additional effects, which are a reverb and a delay. So these effects are coming to the mixer, and I can decide when to use them by opening these knobs here, like
auxiliary sends, right?
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
1 and 2. So then it works like this. It goes back to the computer and then again back into these 2 channels. So it creates this sort of feedback, and I can just hold. I don't. Is it hold?
You can also, you do the feedback manually. Kind of you've got control. Yeah, sure.
Exactly. Yeah, this is pretty much everything, I think.
Cool, and you seem you've got a big smile on your face. You like your setup, your current setup.
I do, because the thing is, obviously, you have to be a little bit realistic, because when you see all, like the huge artists with like massive setups, I was like, that's amazing. But then I came to the reality that if you have to travel and you don't have a tour manager, then it becomes a little bit of a problem, or carrying all the stuff with you. So that's why I choose to have only one controller and this one. So everything, it's still a lot. It still gives me a lot of flexibility, a lot of, let's say, originality. I don't know, but at the same time, it's quite compact.
Well, let's hear. Can we hear something?
Okay.
Would you like to hear something? Yeah. Toot toot. Well, thank you for the snapshot of your set. No, but it's really, really great to watch. You obviously have a really tight workflow there. So my thinking is you've got the first. Talk us through the channel count there. You got.
Yeah, I have the first 4 channels are one deck A, B, C, D of TRAKTOR, and then this one it's my Roland.
Just a mix out, right?
It's
mix out, just a mix of everything.
The Roland goes inside Ableton, but just you just have to create a MIDI send with TRAKTOR, and it goes perfectly in sync. And then, I also use at the same channel. I also use the delay, which I'm trying to reduce a little bit. As you can see, I also have this X there because I'm using the snare way too much. And then on the last one here, I have the reverb also coming from Ableton Live. This mixer also has 2 more returns, which at the moment I'm not using. Before it was a little bit different. Only a few weeks ago I was having the reverb here, but anyway.
Was it too far away, kind of like
Exactly. I mean, yeah, you have the possibility of having like 6 channels, all one next to the other, and also like you can EQ and filter the effects, which is a really nice feature as well that Model 1 gives you. So yeah, I mean, Model 1 for me is really a life-changing tool.
I mean, having a low-pass filter at the ready, in the right position makes all the difference, right?
Exactly, and I think it's really melt really good with TRAKTOR because as you see, well, no, you don't see. I'm not using remix decks or the stems because I guess creating the stems only by the tracks going, because here it's totally different. Like you can cut or boost, and you can select one frequency. Obviously what you don't like, you cut it off, but the body of the track remains. So you still have the track full power, full on, unless the melody or vocal or whatever that you don't like, so you just take it off. So in this way you really have a lot of things going on, but the overall sound it sounds like one.
It's a collage, isn't it? It's a collage,
no.
yeah. No. So let's talk about your your sound or your file preparation. Really get the sense that, I mean, we talked a little bit about this earlier, that it's a performance first and foremost. And it's almost like you're presenting a collage of sound, right? So thinking with that in mind, what steps do you go to actually prepare the tracks for performances?
Let's say that I love to say that we all make mistakes, and it's amazing because I remember when 10 years ago when I started going out, you could hear a lot of more mistakes, but it was really fine and perfect. So that's why I don't want, I'm not using so many cue points because I prefer to do everything on the go. And if I learned that if I select a loop and I save it, then I tend to loop it always at the same moment, at the same time. So I'm like, okay, no, because I'm the first one that I want to entertain myself.
Sure.
And
you want to live for the moment as well, right? I mean, if you loop it at that point in your set, then you're like, oh, that's amazing, rather than thinking, oh, what was that loop I did set 3 weeks ago, or whatever.
Exactly.
Sure.
Obviously, there are some nights that everything melts together perfectly and it's amazing, but other nights, obviously, it's maybe not. But I also, I prefer to take this risk. So coming back to what I do to prepare. It's not really much about cue points, but I think that we are a little bit not losing, but the main point, it's the music and the tracks. So I'm spending a lot of time looking for music, like a lot. And I receive promos and stuff, but being honest, the majority of the music that I play, I find it myself, through Beatports or other portals.
On that note, I really get the sense that it's almost like you're not looking for tracks, you're looking for components, right?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it's about, okay, how can this element of a track fit into my performance rather than this track's a banger? Do you know what I mean? You know?
Absolutely, yeah. And that's why, like, I have a lot of folders. So I have the folders that I know that those tracks, I mean, I'm never gonna play them full length, and I know that I only liked a part, like high-hand stuff, like, hi-hats, or I have other folders that are just for the bass. So I name them in like crazy name. But
what are the names? We want to know.
like techno, power, Bergen, or close eye, deep techno. But the thing is that you have to be really focused when you select the music, because I think that's the main part, because when you are playing, you have to trust yourself that you picked the right tracks. So I'm like putting them in the how do you say bin, and then I don't buy them. I need to listen them like in 2-3 different days, moments, and if I still like after all this,
then it graduates to another. Okay.
Goes inside my computer, and obviously if I learned everything I say, it's because I know I'm learning, and because I like to play on the go, I realized that I was playing things. I was like, who bought this one? Like I don't know. So now I'm really spending a lot of time on that, and like my most honest suggestion would be this one, like to focus on the quality of the music that you have. This is very important. Sometimes we get a little bit lost with all the technology, which is amazing. Obviously, I'm using it. But at the same time, you're thinking too much technically. And then at the end, the result, it's good. But I think with more human touch, could be better.
Well, the thing is, I mean, what's really exciting, of course, technology is first and foremost part of your setup, but it's almost like you're using it as a platform for sound curation. Do you know what I mean? So the fact that you can play 4 tracks in TRAKTOR is great. The fact that you have the option of using cue points is also cool. But first and foremost, in terms of using loops, the fact that you can loop, 1 beat, 1 bar, 8 bars, the fact you can just do it on the fly and almost like respond to whatever the loop is. Yeah. You can integrate into your sets, right?
And I mean, what happened was that when I became a little bit more known and the gigs were getting bigger and bigger, and let's say that also the fear and nervousness got bigger. And then at that point, I was like preparing the sets for a moment, and but then I realized that every time that I prepared something, it was never the same as when it was completely on the go. So another thing I would like to say is just that don't get. I mean, again, mistakes are perfect, are really good, and it's amazing. I mean, we have this amazing opportunity to live in a moment where technology, it's right here, and we have to embrace technology, and but at the same time looking at this fine line, and you don't have. It's better if you don't, go too far. Then everything it's flat, a little bit.
On the subject of that, I was just thinking just now. So when you're selecting the loops or elements, are you thinking in layers? For example, you've got percussion coming from the TR8. You could have a kick drum if you wanted. Perhaps you have one track that's, say, the bass element, another track that's the melodic element, another is like the highs. Do you think in that way, or?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's all about that. And once you get in this loop of having, like, for example, if I find I'm there and I find a kick drum or kick bass drum that I really like, that might even stay there for some minutes, and while I change all the tops. So you also create this, like this groove, this loop. So it doesn't sound too messy that you're, obviously changing too much. Then sometimes I'm always thinking when I'm on the dance floor, and the DJ is using. This is always my opinion, huh? But when a DJ is using too much effects, too much stuff, then it kind of break a little bit my journey. So by obviously always experiencing the dance floor, I'm more and more becoming more fluent, and yes, I love layering everything. And yeah, as you said, kick drum here, hi-hats there, one melody is coming there, I like it, I put it up, I loop it, and then yeah. I think by doing this, you can create a certain tension that it's always there if you want. Like it's you can like if you have a 2-hour set, you can start, and after 2 minutes you have 3 channels on and stay there, and that's what I call it. That's for what I like to hear also when I'm dancing.
So every so often with DJs, if the dance floor isn't quite working in the way that they would like, or it feels a bit flat, you would go and pull your first aid track, what I call first aid tunes, a track that that's a. Sorry, I didn't. So when if the dance floor is going flat, or you feel that the energy is not quite there, do you have a technique for bringing people back? I mean, do you have a go-to set of loops, or do you have a particular process that you might do in order to get the energy back?
Yeah, I have, I have a special folder that it's like the emergency folder.
Sure, first aid folder, I call it. So,
exactly.
Yeah.
So obviously, when I notice that it's happening, I go there, and I know that there are tracks that are definitely gonna, go bring that back in. And once I have back one nice, powerful kick drum, then all the rest, not always, but all the rest, come right after. Yeah.
I want to see if these guys have got a question they'd like to ask. Question at all? Question here. Mm.
Yeah, well, for sure, yes. Well, my own tracks are the only one that for sure I cannot cut or loop or anything. So those ones are the ones that they're from the first minute until the last. But definitely, yes, there are many tracks that I like, and if how can I say, like, there are tracks that are very complex already. So if I know that if I add more stuff, then it's gonna sound messy and not nice.
Cool. Anyone else?
In this moment, I'm not producing my because they are coming from the Roland here. So you have a set of 803, 909, 707 here. You can obviously change the what you want to use by using this button here. But like in my previous setup, I was using 2 of these without any external anything, and I was launching my own things through Ableton Live, which was in sync via MIDI clock with TRAKTOR. So yes, I did it, but not at the moment.
So this is all wonderful, but what happens when it all goes wrong?
What do you mean, if this crashes?
Yeah.
I have 2 computers that are exactly the same.
Okay.
And I have a number of these ones that I don't really trust in case, this extension here. I have 2 sound cards, and I have 1 USB with, just in case, with 1 set in case I have to do something else, or tracks in case really like everything explodes. And
So you have a handy CDJ just in case?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Has that ever happened before?
No.
I'm not jinxing you or anything.
You are the second person that tells me that today. So.
Phew. Cool. I want to hear some more music. Should we hear some more? Yeah? Before there's a question here. Yeah. Talk about your channel effects in Ableton.
So I'm using 1 reverb and 1 delay. And as I said before, so the effects are coming out from the mixer, I'm coming out from the computer, going into the mixer, coming back there, so that I have this feedback. So it's like, with Ableton Live at the moment, yes, I have the reverb, but obviously even in the channel where I have the reverb, then I have more things going on, like the chores, and I can control feedback and dry wet with the.
So you've mapped those. So some of the parameters for the reverbs you've mapped to the zone.
That's
okay,
why
cool.
exactly
And decay time of reverb. I heard. The decay time of the reverb. Yeah, sure.
Also that exactly. And because also in my previous setup, the Roland was going directly into the mixer, but now I've chosen to just create an audio channel on Ableton, so she's going here. Then I can add more effects from Ableton to there.
Nice one.
But I'm not gonna play more music. Huh? I'm all good.
I don't know about that.
Man,
well, you don't know me. I can be persuasive. No, go for it.
What do you recommend for someone who wants to start with a sort of live setup like you have? Yeah. Someone who hasn't like a DJ.
Yeah. So I think the main focus that you should have in mind is not to get lost in all the possibilities that you have. So you just should try something that it's compact and obviously the most suitable for you and less cable as possible, because obviously when you start you don't have a tour manager, so if something goes wrong you want everything to be quite tight. And for me, TRAKTOR, it's really the best thing that you could ever do, as to start. And then I said before that it's good to change and to try new things, but also at the same time, when you find something, master it before looking somewhere else, because sometimes again you can get really lost and then you don't even know what you like anymore. So I would say TRAKTOR for sure, and then master, because TRAKTOR has so many possibilities, like using 4 channels. I'm gonna repeat what I already said, but anyways, it gives you really the possibility of creating your own tracks out of somebody else's tracks, and this is very important, I think.
So with that said, would you say that you're more a producer nowadays, or a DJ, or a live performer? What would you say? Probably a mix of both, but what leanings do you have?
I mean, in the beginning, I was a producer only, and honestly, I didn't even want to play. I was like, I just want to dance, and I'm going to make tracks, and, I'm happy if my tracks get played, and that happened in Space, in Ibiza, when Richie Houghton was, I was giving him my USBs, and he was playing them, and I was there dancing. I was just a normal, starting my career. But at the moment, I think I am, in between. Okay. It's just, a nice balance between the 2 things. But obviously, when I'm playing, it's also about creating new stuff. But I can just record the set, but obviously, it's not mine. I cannot just say.
With that said, though, it's such a fantastic way of crafting tracks, right? Do you use this setup to actually make music as well, as opposed to just working in a DAW?
What do you mean?
So in terms of the way you perform,
do
you compose and write music in that way as well? Have you used that as a tool of
I mean, for sure, what I do in the studio, it's also a lot of feeling. Like I'm not a mechanical producer. I need to have my day. I need to you know, the planets needs to be aligned, inspiration and all that. But I don't really have a standard sequence, because I know so many people, they just open the project and it's the same basic stuff and then they adjust things. But I like to open a project where I don't have a clue.
Blank canvas.
Blank, totally blank. And depending of what my mood is in that day, then the track would obviously, my stamp will be always there somehow. But yeah, and I think this is something similar from the DJ set to the, because... No.
And have you ever used this setup for a track that you created?
Not this one, but I am using the Model 1 as a mixer in the studio. So, because really, it has some really good valves, like analogic, it's totally analog, and the sound, you know, I have my machines and synths going inside here, and you can totally tell afterwards when they come out again, they are much
Some
more
warmth and depth. Yeah.
warm, yeah, a lot. So yes, I'm using this one, and this one, sure, but not TRAKTOR or this, yeah.
Obviously, this is the current iteration of your setup. Have you been itching to add something else or to change it in some capacity?
Well, let's say that at the moment, I'm very, very happy with this. For sure, I would love, maybe I'm thinking to get the Orion sound card, which is bigger, and it allows me to have more things, maybe more effects or more machines to put here, because at the moment I'm full there. So that for sure could be one. For sure, the next step I will do is to get a sound card with more in and outs, and then after I have that, I will have some more ideas of what to do.
Fabio, thank you very much for your time. Give it up for Fabio. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, guys.
But we're here just to conclude. Here you're playing at ADE for us, right? Yeah. Tomorrow? Yeah. Yeah, Loveland with Richie. Good. All right, we'll check you out. Thank you, man. Yeah, cool, man.